going on, everyone? Welcome back to Ask the King for January 20th, 2011. We're going to jump right into it because I have quite a few questions left to answer after rambling on and on about that last one. Alright, next is from the Stoned Cinder. And he says, I saw an ad for your stuff on Cafe Press. Being that you have a good reputation there, what kind of stuff will we see next available for purchase? Good question. A lot of people have actually mentioned to me that going around the internet when they see ads for Cafe Press, they actually have been putting my stuff on the ads, and I think it's the ads that they're putting on gaming stuff. So for example, people have seen ads on ShowYouCan.com for my stuff. They've seen ads on other people's gaming videos on YouTube for my stuff. Great question, because this is the perfect time to ask it. As you know, we've been starting a streaming series of Super Turbo, featuring some of the best players on the East Coast. We do this roughly at least once a month. We're actually starting to do it a little bit more often now that the holidays are over. We're going to try to do it every other week, and actually there's a stream coming up this Sunday, which I believe is January 23rd at 2 p.m. at don'tblowthis.com. And, actually let me reset my timer now that I'm thinking about it. And anyway, what we decided to do, we have a gaming team, we're calling it the Revolution, and basically the whole premise of this team is, listen, you know, for years we've been told, you know, there's no viable tournament-worthy edition of Super Turbo, and therefore Super Turbo can't be played at tournaments. We've tried HD Remix, we've tried multiple console versions of the game, none of them are arcade perfect, none of them, well, most of them have really large differences from the arcade version of arguably the best fighting game ever made, and therefore we're giving up. We can't play it in tournaments anymore. And actually it was funny because, you know, there was this interview on the West Coast, and I believe Dogface asked John Choi, would you consider playing the qualifier team who qualified for SBO in 2010 in like a playoff, and he said, well, yeah, if Super Turbo comes back. And I'm like, where did Super Turbo go? It never went anywhere. It's just that no one put the effort in to try to get it back on arcade setups, which is the tournament-worthy edition. So we did it. We put our efforts, time and efforts together. We've got two head-to-head arcade cabinets. We stream every other weekend, and we're really excited about it. So what we're doing, to get back to the point, is we have merchandise now that we're going to start designing and putting up on Cafe Press for our team. It's going to have different things like Revo is kind of like the shortcut for the Revolution, and we've got some of my fans have been designing lots of interesting logos and things for us to use for this merchandise. So even if you go right now to cafepress.com/darksidephil, you're going to see there's just a section there, and it's just our preliminary designs, but we're working on designs right now that each person can have their own custom t-shirt. We have our own logos and things like that, and we're basically looking to go to tournaments and represent this movement of, you know, Super Turbo is the best fighting game of all time in many people's opinions, and we want it to come back to the tournament scene in arcade form. So let's get our asses together to work it out and figure out how to get cabinets in and do it, because we're not accepting these shitty console remixed versions of a crappy fucking bullshit, you know, shortcut version of the game anymore. We want to play the real game. So let's see what happens. And actually there are some things in the works right now to possibly get Arcade Super Turbo at Evolution Nationals this year. But those are in the works, and we'll see what happens. But anyway, yeah, check that stuff out on Cafe Press. More will be going up, and we'll go from there. The next question, which is from 5 billion people, are you going to play DC Universe Online? The answer is no. I've said multiple times I am never going to play an MMO simply because it never ends. There's no point in me. I could do some footage of it, but when do I stop? At 40 hours? At 60 hours? I mean, MMOs, I could perpetually play them, and it's going to take up a ridiculous amount of my time, and it's just not worth it. Sure, I understand that DC Universe is on PS3, but I've grown out of the MMO phase of my life. I played World of Warcraft, I played EverQuest, I played City of Heroes, I played many MMOs, Final Fantasy 11. I played many of these MMOs, and yes, they're addictive, and yes, they're fun, and if that's all you want to do for your gaming, by all means go play them. But if you're the kind of rounded person like me and you want to play other stuff, it's not worth the time and dedication to put into an MMO. So I'm not playing DC Universe, and I won't be playing any other MMOs unless I quit everything else and it's all I do. Alright, next question is from Random and Hokey Gamer. At least I hope I pronounced that right. It was really hard to read. And his question is, what are your expectations on Mass Effect 3 and your thoughts about rumored multiplayer being added to it? First of all, Mass Effect does not need multiplayer. It would be a complete waste of time, and no one's asking for it. Don't do it. It's horrendous. It would be horrendous if they added multiplayer. That's not the type of game it is. So I say, don't give in, to critics or whoever is telling you that this is what you need. You don't need it. Your game series is good enough without it, so don't fucking put it in there. What I would much rather you do is you focus on the main game itself and get us back to the main storyline of Mass Effect 1, which is the Reapers are coming. They're going to invade Earth and everything else and take everything over, because that's what the storyline we're really interested in Mass Effect 1. We meet this Reaper, we talk to it, we destroy it at the end of the game, and then all through Mass Effect 2, the whole storyline is dropped for this side story about collectors that no one really gives a shit about. And now here we are, we see the preview for Mass Effect 3, and it's kind of like, gee, seems like the story just continued from Mass Effect 1. You could have completely skipped Mass Effect 2 as a filler episode, and the story could have went from Part 1 to Part 3. So, focus on the story of Mass Effect 1. I would say, if anything, what I would like to see is my decisions from Mass Effect 1 and 2 significantly change what happens in Mass Effect 3. So, for example, if I spared the Rachni in Mass Effect 1, I want them back in Mass Effect 3, and I want them to make a significant impact on my gameplay experience. Maybe an important side character or important member of my crew would have died if I didn't do this in Part 1, and because I did, in Part 3 the character gets rescued. Stuff like that. That's the kind of dynamic that I would love to see in Mass Effect 3, and that's what I hope to see in it. Okay, next question is from Hugo Chreto. And he says, Phil, you have different logos for all your different shows and stuff like that, and the fans have made those for you, but what about a DSP theme song? You don't seem to have a common theme that's synonymous with you. And I just kind of see what he's saying, because, for example, the Angry Video Game Nerd has a really catchy theme song, so why don't I? And I completely agree. And here's the thing. With some future business plans that I have, I'm looking to basically have a strategic partnership with a particular company, and there are going to be certain videos that I'm going to probably give them where I'm not going to be able to use, I don't want to say copyrighted music, because you can use it as long as it's part of the game, but I wouldn't be able to use, for example, in my Hateful Truth. If I make a Hateful Truth, I might not be able to use my intro, which is, Rod, You Call My Name. I might need to make an original theme song for stuff like that. So let this be kind of like the initial request. Anyone out there who is a musician, who is clever, thinks they can be a clever lyricist, I'd like to see some examples of some theme songs and ideas that you might have. Now, just for an example, a lot of people have asked me this in the past, what kind of music do you like? Yes, I love hard rock, I love metal, I love that kind of stuff. It doesn't necessarily mean that I wouldn't like something like a rap or something neat, even just like a jingle, the Angry Video Game Nerd has a really cool acoustic guitar theme that's really neat, and something like that I might like too. So, any ideas you have, I'm more than willing to burp into the camera during this request, but besides that, I'm more than willing to consider anything. So anyone out there who's interested, record what you're doing and put it up on YouTube and put it as a response to this video, or send it to me in a PM, and I'm more than willing to look at it and see what you got. And if it's good enough, I would love to have my own cool theme that I could, put in my videos, put in my Hateful Truths and stuff like that. So let's see what you come up with. And thank you, Hugo Troito, for asking me that, because that was a really good question. Okay, let's see how I'm doing on time. I'm still alright. The next question is from David Porges, and it's a two-pronged question. And I apologize if it's Porges, not Porges. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. It says, hey Phil, my name is David and I'm from Israel and I'm a huge fan of yours. Here are my questions. Number one, you said a couple of times you were late to embrace the PlayStation 3. Why did you eventually embrace it and what made you change your mind? Well, let me answer this before I get to the second question. Simply put, it's a matter of timing. The Xbox 360 came out before the PS3, so I bought that and I had that first. And being that a lot of the best games for the systems were already cross-platform games, there was no reason for me to buy a PS3 necessarily. Now, when I saw there were going to be some PS3 exclusive games coming out that I did want to try, for example, Uncharted and stuff like that, That's when I started getting interested in the PS3, and that's why I eventually bought it. Plus, I knew that eventually, once Blu-ray won the HD war between HD DVD and Blu-ray, I knew that I was going to want a Blu-ray player. And I said, rather than buy a freaking standalone player for $200, why not buy a PS3 for $300, and I can play games and play Blu-rays? It just made sense. So that's why I eventually got a PS3. Second question, what do you think about piracy in gaming? Now, I've already talked about this 1,000 times, so I won't beat a dead horse, but it's bullshit. People should not do it. The only time whatsoever that I would ever even support any kind of piracy is if a game just never came to the States. So, for example, Mother 3, which is actually the sequel to Earthbound, which is actually called Mother 2 in Japan. People have been demanding this game for a decade, and you know, it never got a U.S. release, so people finally got the ROMs, and now there is a translated version online for free. Is it considered piracy? Yes, but when you're a fan and you want something, and the developer isn't delivering, then what the hell? What are you going to do, you know? What I don't support are, you know, games being pirated that are ready to, or readily purchasable. And it's frustrating, you know, when a new game comes out and it's already online and you fuck over the developers and publishers like that. That's really bullshit. But another example of piracy that might be okay is a game that's maybe out of print. So, for example, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, after around like 2003, 2004, it became extremely difficult and almost impossible to find an actual retail copy of the game that people were selling, and so the game went online and ended up being pirated by everyone. If you have a game like that that's super popular and the developer refuses to re-release the game, what can you do? So, it's like a Robin Hood question, you know? There are certain times when things are acceptable and there's certain times when they're not. There's the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law, and you should always follow along with the spirit of the law. That's my opinion. Oh, actually, he actually did have a third question. He says, P.S. Can I send you some Israeli money and a couple of cool stuff from here? Sincerely, David the Wily Jew. He said it, not me. I don't want to hear it, okay? He called himself the Wily Jew. I would say, sure, I'd be more than willing to accept some money as a souvenir. As for the couple of cool stuff, I've talked about this before. I do have a section on my forums called DSP's P.O. Box. If you're going to send me something, run it by me there first, and I'll either approve it or, you know, turn it down, and I'll let you know. All right. Next question is from Cyber Juanito. This is actually, excuse me, the last question from the forums. Then we'll hit up Twitter questions. I'm doing good on time. Cyber Juanito says, many online gamer personalities, he names a couple, but I won't call them out, I've been saying that Black Ops multiplayer isn't as good as Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer. Your thoughts? Well, I have two thoughts on this. The first thought is, well, to be completely honest, aren't we all kind of getting tired of this at this point? I mean, Modern Warfare 1 was a revolutionary game. It really changed the way a lot of us thought about first-person shooters, because it added so much new content and so many new concepts to the online multiplayer of that game. And since then, we have 3 more iterations of Call of Duty, 1 a year, and it's like, well, how many times can you rehash the same formula and still think that it feels fresh? Now, Modern Warfare 2, a lot of people were highly anticipating it because it was the direct sequel to Modern Warfare 1. It had high expectations, and for the most part, when the game was new, a lot of people felt that it did kind of live up to the expectations. It was just slightly not as good as Modern Warfare 1, but it was still a really good follow-up. So that's where these people are coming from when they say, Black Ops ain't so good. I can understand that. It's like, okay, well, you know, now we're the 4th, it's Modern Warfare 4 is what we're playing right now with Black Ops, and it's like, how many times can you play the same kind of style, the same formula, and still feel that it's fresh? It's starting to get stale, and maybe that's why people are getting tired of this style of gameplay. On the flip side of all of that, one thing that I have noticed is people have started to complain about Black Ops, and it seems like it's because, oh man, I can't, you know, I can't kill boost to get a fucking nuke and win instantly, and that was my favorite thing about Modern Warfare 2. Or, oh, I can't quickscope as easily as I used to be able to. Or, oh, there's not enough abusable stuff in this game where, you know, there's actually people who play these games not to have fun, or not even to be tournament worthy or competitive, but just to do these really fucking abusable things in the game and abuse the game engine, and then they think they're good, and they make fucking video montages of it. Here's my you know, kill boosting montage. What the fuck? Who cares about a kill boosting montage? You're a loser. You abuse the game engine to kill boost and get nukes. No one cares. It's like you abuse the game engine. That's not the way the game was intended to be played. You know, these people who are fucking sitting on domination and getting 96 kill streaks and, oh, I'm so good. That's not what the game is for. You're supposed to be playing domination. So, you know, I think a lot of people in that respect, they're kind of hating on Black Ops because it is not as abusable of a game as Modern Warfare 2 was, especially after the first few months of being released, and that's not right. And if that's the reason why these people really are saying it's not as good, I think that's bullshit, and I think you need to get a fucking life. But that's just my opinion. I could say this, here we are in January, and at least from my perspective, I think that, I don't know, because we haven't played the first expansion map pack yet, but it's definitely not being as abused as Modern Warfare 2 was. Modern Warfare 2, after like the first month, that was it. There was noob tube, and there was fucking quickscope, and there was kill boost, and there was all this bullshit. And at least for the most part, that doesn't seem to be happening as much in Black Ops. So that's just my take on it. I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion. So now we'll move on to Twitter questions. The first question is from JK Wong 111, and he says, "What is the most you've ever won in a money match?" I wish I could tell you this because, you know, I have done many money matches in my gaming career. Unfortunately, I'm sad to report I've lost far more money than I've ever won. Thousands of dollars. And usually what it comes down to is, and it's kind of like the flip side of what I was saying earlier about Street Fighter, you know, back in the day you had to play in arcades, and when you play in an arcade you have to play on what controls are there. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You can't play on your own joystick. And what would happen is, you know, I would get really good at a game like Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and I would do really well at it at one place because I was really good on this one set of arcade controls. Then I would go to a tournament which had maybe a different style joystick, different style buttons, and I would fucking, you know, drop my combos and play like shit. And there was one point where I was really cocky about, you know, being in the tournament scene, and I kept betting these tournament level, you know, these players who were winning tournaments constantly no matter where they went, and I wasn't doing that, and I was betting them ridiculous amounts of money and losing repeatedly. But I don't know, probably the most money I ever won was a couple $100. I was never a participant in like thousands of dollars of a money match. I mean, I always was, you know, struggling with money and all of that, especially that I was going to college and stuff like that back in the day when I was playing Marvel 2 and stuff like that. So to be honest, I don't even know if I've ever really played a competitive money match for Super Turbo. I think by that point, I was getting into it, and that was around 2005 and later, when I was getting into Super Turbo at a competitive level. I really wasn't betting it because I didn't have money anymore. So it's probably not as interesting of an answer as you thought it was going to be. Next question is from Fuck Spiff. His name is Fuck Spiff. Wow. And this question is, what motivates you as a person who's being constantly bashed in the online gaming community? Well, I've already said this before, so I'll say it again. It's worth reiteration, but I won't talk about it too long. You know, the hate has always motivated me. It's kind of like someone saying, you're not good enough, you'll never be good enough, and you can't do a certain thing. When someone tells me that I can't do something, it motivates me even more to be able to do it. And, you know, this might sound crazy, but the situation I'm in now, you know, being on YouTube for almost 3 years now, and having a really large, solid fan base of people who do support me, I never had that when I was really in the competitive fighting game scene. I was always the underdog. I was always the guy the dark horse, who was going to go, and everyone knew that I was pretty good, but everyone was kind of rooting against me. I was the villain, the bad guy, and so now it's kind of flipping, and it's funny because, you know, yeah, sure, there are still trolls and there's haters and stuff like that, but for me, it just fuels me to do better. It's like they say, if you have people who hate you, or if you have haters, it probably means you're doing something right. Because there's a reason that these people exist. So all I can say is it fuels me more, it really does. And I'm sure when I start touring the tournament scene this year, when I go to EVO, if I go to EVO, which I hope I can do, and, you know, there's going to be you're going to see the hardcore people from Shoryuken, the hardcore people who have been in the fighting community for a long time are going to be hating all over me. Oh, he's no good. Where's he? He hasn't been playing for years. Who the fuck does he think he is to be here and think he's going to win? But it's just going to fuel me more to do well. So thanks for the hate. Up next, actually two really good questions from Native NY. His first question is, hey Phil, I just heard that they started taking Nintendo 3DS pre-orders. Will you be getting one at launch or will you wait? Great question. My answer is this. I'm not sure, and here's why. Number one, first of all, it's $250 fucking dollars. Dear Nintendo, you're ripping us off and we know it, okay? There's no way that the Nintendo 3DS costs more to make than the Wii. So, fuck off, okay? Really, fuck off. You're ripping us off and we know it. But the thing with Nintendo is they now realize that whatever console they make, usually it's revolutionary. The Wii had motion control. The DS had a touch screen. Then it had dual screens. Then, now it's 3D. So everything they release is revolutionary, and just like with Apple and their products, there's always like this artificial demand and hype around Nintendo's hardware when it comes out. So they know that it's going to sell out. They know it. So they said, gee, how can we make a pretty penny even if all the games at launch suck dick? And the answer is charge $250 for the fucking thing. So I'm kind of disappointed in Nintendo for that. So number one, it's really expensive. Number two, I looked at the launch game lineup and it looks like shit. I don't even see any games there that I might even want to play. So I'm kind of disappointed there. I was hoping that there might be a Zelda game, a Star Fox game, a Mario game. You know, the games that people want to play, not some fucking shovelware, which is probably what's going to end up happening and coming out for this system from the get-go. So, I don't know. The bottom line is this. I haven't been traveling a lot, and therefore my DS has been in my nightstand over here for quite some time. It hasn't really, been played at all. But back when I was traveling, like for example in 2007 when I really heavily toured the tournament circuit, and I was playing it a lot, back then, yeah, I got a lot of use. So, I guess the answer is, it's going to depend on my needs this year. If I'm traveling a lot and I need something to do to kill time on a plane or whatever, yeah, I might actually get the 3DS. But the bottom line is, if the games don't impress me, I'm not going to spend $250 for it. It's too expensive for a handheld system. Why is a handheld system more expensive than a home console? I mean, let's be realistic. They're full of shit, and it's a ripoff. So we'll see what happens with that. His second question here, okay. Oh, we're doing all right on time. We're almost up on time. Is also, I haven't heard you talk about 3D HD TV much. Are you getting one in the future, or is it just a gimmick? And to that, I have to say it is a gimmick. And 100% 3D is a gimmick. It always has been a gimmick. 3D's been around for a long time, and it comes and goes. You had your red and blue eyeglass 3D from the 70s. Then in the 80s there was a new one. Then in the 90s they tried this new 3D that didn't have the red and blue. It was like a clear plastic. And now it's coming back again. The bottom line is this. 3D, in real life, you don't see in fucking 3D, okay? When a softball comes at your face and smashes your nose, you don't see a third-dimensional ball coming at you. You don't. Really, most things that we see, we have a very limited depth perception. And 3D is an artificial way to enhance depth perception in a 2D plane. It's not necessary, and really it doesn't add much to gameplay at all. So, it's a gimmick. And I have to say that having to wear fucking glasses, first of all, I hate glasses to begin with. I don't have perfect eyesight, but I don't wear glasses because I fucking hate glasses. Why the hell do I want to sit there and have to wear glasses when I'm playing a game or watching a movie? It's an annoyance. And I really feel that right now what's happening is all these TV makers have now sold HD TVs, and they're like, shit, how can we sell more product now? Because we realize that the sales are slowing down, and the economy's bad right now, and really no one's, looking to buy an expensive TV. How can we make people buy more TVs? Oh, we'll push 3D and claim that it's the next generation and the next step. It's not. It's a gimmick. It's going to go away. Trust me on this. It's not going to be around for any significant amount of time. They may still sell it. It might be in your TV, but you're not going to be doing 3D everything. You're not going to have 3D cable. You're not going to have, everything in 3D compatible. So it's not worth it. It's overpriced. It's a gimmick. It's worthless. And there's really no reason to even to even be worrying about it. Sure, there may be some instances like Avatar, a movie that's completely filmed in 3D, where maybe it'll enhance the experience, but it's not anything that's mainstream. And don't be fooled by these media companies, by these marketing companies, and by these TV manufacturers who are telling you that it's the next wave of technology. It's not, and it doesn't add anything significant to what you're doing. Alright, the last question for this long Ask the King episode is from XUberXHacksX. And his question is, how many fallback plans do you have for all the nonsense that's been happening to you, and I hope you don't need another one? Well, as you know, my life's been quite a roller coaster ride since September when I was laid off from my full-time job. First doing stuff on YouTube exclusively and relying on the AdSense program, which then got shut down for supposed fraud, click fraud. By the way, no, it wasn't shut down because somewhere 3 years ago I might have mentioned in a video that to click on ads. That's not what happened. It was shut down for click fraud, which means that YouTube suspected that people were clicking who weren't actually interested in the ads. So I can't control that, and there's nothing I can do about it, and that's why I think that honestly, AdSense isn't a very good program. I think that it's not reliable, but that's just my 2 cents. Then after that, moving over to Blip TV for a month, and then getting kicked off of Blip TV because of all the bullshit that happened there with trolling. Well, I guess, a lot of people would say, are you on your 3rd backup plan, all that? Well, let me tell you something. Someone like me, like I said, I don't give up easily. Now, obviously, if I'm destitute, yes, it's time to go back to the normal humdrum life of trying to find a regular full-time job. But as of right now, I'm not. I'm doing fine. And things are looking positive yet again. And, at the very least, I didn't have to go back. I mean, I have hundreds of backup plans. I mean, I haven't even begun. I mean, I'm on plan C right now. Well, what about plan, D5, rob a bank, or plan, M27, become a male prostitute? And hell, it even goes all the way to plan, Z4, which, sell bodily parts and organs. So, not necessarily in that particular order, but, there's plenty of things that I could fall back on, and, I joke now about it, but, I'm enjoying where this is going. The positivity of the fans has kept me going as long as we all stay positive. There's lots of things that I still have not pursued that I could pursue, because right now, I really enjoy doing this independently, but there's a lot of options out there for me that I could consider. So by no means am I giving up. By no means is this the last straw, and I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing from my option coming up, and I will give everyone more information as it gets closer and things get more settled in with what I'm planning on doing, but it's looking good. So anyway, thank you everyone for your support. Sorry about the 2-week delay with this video of Ask the King. We will resume in 2 more weeks. February 3rd will be the next episode. I have created the new thread on the forums to put up those questions, so please check it out. I'm DSP. Thanks a lot. This has been Ask the King. See you next time.